You have at least two enemies who are coming after you and trying to do you in. Hello everybody, Trailer Trash Tim. How's your mama and them? Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're here on this Wednesday. I had to go cut a whole lot of grass. I'm so glad that's done. Do me a big favor if you would, and give me a thumbs up on this video before we go any further. I would really appreciate that. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you come and be a part of our growing channel. All of the relevant links, contact information, and all that are down below this video. Make yourself available to that, and do yourself a favor, do me a favor, and do us all a favor, and be a part of it. All right. I want to start out today with a quote. Oh, wait, before I get to that, how about a little trivia? Can I throw a little trivia your way? I got some a trivia question sent to me by a subscriber named Danny. And Danny said, answer this if you can. You know who Colonel Sanders was? Colonel Harlan Sanders. He was the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, here's the question. In what state did Colonel Sanders open his first KFC franchise? And here are your four choices. Was it Kentucky? Was it New Jersey? Was it Utah? Or was it Tennessee? No Googling, no cheating. If you cheat, I'll give you a 10-point deduction. I have the answer for you at the end of this video, but you got that? In which state did Colonel Sanders open his first KFC franchise? Kentucky, New Jersey, Utah, or Tennessee? So there you go. Now, you have at least two enemies who are coming after you. You've got a target on your back, and I want to identify who those enemies are right now. I want to start with a quote. And this quote is from Chuck Schumer, who is a senator from New York, a very powerful senator, very leftist senator from the state of New York. And this is a quote from him, which he uttered on the Rachel Maddow show on MSNBC. And this, he said this after the 2016 elections, when Donald Trump was the president-elect. He had not yet assumed office. But Rachel Maddow asked him about some of the comments Trump had made regarding the CIA, and which were not all that flattering. And this is what Schumer said. Schumer said, and I quote, a direct quote, "Let me tell you, you can take on the intelligence community. They have 6 ways from Sunday getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb. From what I am told, they are very upset at the way he has treated them and talked about them." Now, I don't know how you feel about that quote, but for me, it's chilling, because here is the swampiest of swamp creatures, a deep state man through and through, a leftist through and through, who is basically issuing a threat, saying that if you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you. In other words, he's saying, don't mess with them. Don't mess with the deep state. Now, I've told you before, everybody inside the belt, not everybody, but most people who live inside the Beltway and those surrounding communities with their million-dollar homes, it's the most expensive set of suburbs in America. Shouldn't be, but it is. But those people up there, generally speaking, have nothing but contempt for you and I. If you are a hard-working American, just a regular guy like me, who goes about your business, works hard, pays your taxes, takes care of your business, you have a target on your back. You are the enemy. The last thing they want to do is hear from you. You're one of those smelly Walmart people, as Peter Strzok called us. And so here's Schumer basically saying, don't mess with the CIA. Don't mess with the deep state. This is crazy. It's absurd. Now, there's something I want to tell you about this so-called deep state, and it is very real. The deep state, this establishment bunch, when you get right down to it, they elect our presidents, or they select our presidents. And I'll give you a prime example, and it's been this way for quite some time. They didn't like Kennedy. They got rid of him. But in 2004, George Bush Jr., if you will, the second, George W. Bush, was running for re-election, and the election came down between him and John Kennedy, Lurch, another leftist from Massachusetts at the time. And this is a guy who's flying around the world on gas-guzzling jets, paid for at your expense, trying to school us all about climate change. But the election came down between those two men. Well, a lot of people may have thought there was a difference in the two, but when you stop and think about it, both of them were members of the same fraternity. They were both skull and bonesmen. They're both Ivy Leaguers. Now, what are the odds, folks, that you get down to the final two men standing and they're both skull and bonesmen? What are the odds? Do you really think there was that much difference? Do you think things would have turned out any different had Kerry been elected? So the deep state pretty much controls who sits in the White House. When it came time for Obama, they said, yeah, we want a black man in the White House, and he got in there. That was when they threw Ron Paul under the bus and gave the thing to Romney and wouldn't let Ron Paul speak at the convention. Back in 2008, it was. They whacked Bernie Sanders. I'm not a fan of Bernie Sanders, but they were determined that Hillary, it was time for a woman president. She was going to be the next president. They got rid of Tulsi Gabbard. She's actually a rational Democrat. But Trump somehow slipped through the cracks in 2016. And I'm telling you, that was not supposed to happen. And so they got rid of him in 2020. I don't care what anybody says. There's not much I can say given the format I'm on about what happened. But there were some dirty shenanigans that went on just a few years back, if you know what I mean. By the way, I can't wait until I get on Patreon where I can, as the old professional wrestler Thunderbolt Patterson said, so I can talk like I want to talk. But I really have to kind of muzzle myself now, if you know what I mean. But the deep state now has been weaponized against Donald Trump. The justice system has been weaponized against him. And if you don't think this is true, consider this. Constitutionally speaking, how are we supposed to wage war in the United States? Well, according to the Constitution, declarations of war begin in Congress. Presidents cannot unilaterally declare war. They just can't do it constitutionally. The last time we had a constitutionally declared, legally declared war was World War II. But it began in the House of Representatives. Since that time, we've had Vietnam, we've had Korea, we've had Syria, Libya, Serbia, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. It goes on and on and on. And these presidents just unilaterally kick the Constitution to the curb and do whatever the hell they want to do. Vietnam, that wasn't a war. No. Korea, that wasn't a war. No, it was just a police action or whatever. Now, let me ask you a question. Since everybody seems to understand, well, maybe not everybody understands, but since me and you understand that in order for a war to begin, you have to have a declaration from Congress. Therefore, how come Johnson was never arrested? How come Clinton was never arrested? How come Obama was never arrested? How come Biden hadn't been arrested? Just on this alone. How come Bush wasn't arrested? Just on this issue alone. But they trump up, no pun intended, all these phony charges against Trump, and they're going to arrest him. They want to arrest him and book him and impeach him and convict him and imprison him and indict him and all this jazz. Why weren't any of these other men arrested? Let me give you another quick example real quick. You've ever heard of a man named James Clapper? James Clapper is literally an avowed communist, and he was the director under Obama of the NSA. He was director of national intelligence. He was actually over the NSA and the CIA. This man lied to Congress when he was grilled about whether or not the intelligence communities of the United States government were spying on U.S. citizens and gathering data on U.S. citizens. Before a committee under oath, he said, no, that's not what's going on. That's not what's going on. Do you know who outed James Clapper and showed clearly that he was lying? It was a man by the name of Edward Snowden. Snowden outed this commie. Snowden outed Clapper as being a liar and showed that, yes, the American government is indeed harvesting information from the private information from its citizens. Has Clapper ever been arrested? Hell no, not once. He's still out there kicking around. Where's Snowden? Snowden had to run for his life. He's in Russia now. This is something Snowden said. This is a quote of Edward Snowden, who in my view is an American hero. If I were president, I'd bring him home and give him a state dinner. But this is what he said. Listen carefully. When exposing a crime is treated as committing a crime, you are being ruled by criminals. When exposing a crime is being treated as a crime, you are being ruled by criminals. Edward Snowden. Now, we have enemies in this country. The deep state is our enemy. If you are a person who loves liberty, loves freedom, loves playing by the rules, taking care of your family, your loved ones, the deep state is your enemy. Make no question about it. Now, we've got to have our voice heard at the ballot box. We have to overwhelm the ballot box next time that we vote. We just got to do it. But that's the first enemy you have. The second enemy you have is one I want to talk about for just a minute here. In 1930, the national debt of the United States of America, how much was it? You want to take a guess? It was $16 billion. A lot of money. 1930, that's still a lot of money. In 1940, the national debt of the United States was $43 billion. In 1950, it was $257 billion. In 1960, it was $286 billion. In 1970, $371 billion. 1980, $908 billion. And now we get into the T's. In 1990, our national debt was $3.2 trillion. That wasn't that long ago. In the year 2000, when W took office, our debt was $5.6 trillion. 10 years later, in 2010, it was 13.5. 10 years after that, it was $27.7 trillion. And just 3 years after that, from 2020 to 2023, our national debt is $32.8 trillion as we talk this morning. That's an unfathomable number from which there is no recovery. I'm telling you, we are headed for the falls. The deep state is your enemy, and the national debt is your second enemy. But really, personal debt is your enemy. And I'm saying all this to tell you this, folks, if you're in debt, get out. You have got to get out of debt. This goes in line with a video I made the other day about minimalism. Don't try and be like the Joneses next door. Lead a minimal life. It'll be a better life for you. If you're in debt, get to work on that. Get debt. Eliminate those things. The only debt I've got is my mortgage for this thing right here. I'm working on that to get out of debt. I'm telling you, national debt is crippling the United States of America, and personal debt will cripple you. Don't let that happen to you. If you're in debt, and I understand there's legitimate reasons people get in debt, and I also understand there's such thing as good debt. You know, if you're a house flipper or you're an investor who buys houses and like one a year and you rent it out and you have a mortgage on them that your renters pay, I understand that. But I'm talking about consumer debt, credit card debt, vehicle debt. Make car payments to yourself, buy you cars and trucks for cash, and drive them till the wheels fall off. Get your mortgages paid off. Get out of debt. Get liberated from that, because it's your enemy. It is your arch enemy. So national debt is our enemy, the deep state is our enemy, and personal debt is our enemy. Do all you can to get out of it. All right. Now, let me answer the trivia question. What state did Colonel Harlan Sanders open his first Kentucky Fried Chicken? Was it Kentucky? Was it New Jersey? Was it Tennessee? Or was it Utah? My guess when I said, well, Kentucky's too obvious. It can't be that. I'm thinking it's not Tennessee, so I'm going to go with New Jersey. The answer, none of the above. The answer, believe it or not, Utah. Can you believe it? How about that? Utah. Hey, listen, thanks so much for joining me today. I ran a little bit long. I apologize for that, but I would love to hear your comments down below about this video, the things we talked about the deep state, about your enemies, debt being right up there at the top, and what you're doing to get out of it. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Comment down below and let me hear from you. It might help somebody else that's watching today. Everybody have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching. This is Trailer Trash Tim. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.